Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for today's Live with AARP, Thursdays with AARP. I'm Amber Miller, your host. And before we get to our guest, of course, I just do a couple updates. So please remember if you are interested in learning more about AARP Wisconsin and things that we are doing within the community, including virtual events, please visit aarp.org WI, which is Wisconsin. So once again, aarp.org/WI. Please also remember to check out Community Connections. So, Community Connections launched last year. So, if you're interested in volunteer opportunities within your area, and or maybe creating one within your area, you can definitely check out that website. And there's also information about the initiative of Friendly Voice. So, the Friendly Voice initiative, of course, also launched last year. It is free. It is open to any age, and you also do not need to be a member of AARP Wisconsin. But what you could do is put a request in for one of our trained volunteers to give you a call. And sometimes you just need to hear a friendly voice on the other end. So once again, you can find that Community Connections website below or the phone number that is scrolling. And even though we are living in a virtual world, we're always looking for great volunteers to join our team. If you're interested in volunteering with AARP Wisconsin, there's two websites you can go to. The one that's up right now is www.aarp backslash I want the number two volunteer, or you can go to the AARP Wisconsin website. And there are so many different opportunities. Virtual right now, of course, if you're interested in doing presentations, advocacy. Otherwise, if you're interested, maybe even volunteering for next year, you can apply now, and one of our staff members will get back to you with additional information. So with our guest today, last year AARP did a survey of adults 18 and over and found that nearly 47%, so almost half of the US adults, have been targeted of imposter scams. And this might be the first time you're ever hearing, like, what is an imposter scam? So we're very excited to have Courtney Anclam. She is with our AARP Wisconsin office and leads the efforts with anything to do with frauds and scams. So, Courtney, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So as I said, so if people are listening to this, they're like, what's an imposter scam? So if you could start off maybe just by answering that so our viewers can kind of get a feel for what that is.
Yeah, so imposter scams are kind of a really broad category that a lot of scams fall under, and it's anything where the con artist pretends to be someone that you trust in order to get you maybe to click a link in an email, to get you to send money, to get you to give up personal information. So some really common ones are like they'll pretend to be friends or family. They might
Mhm.
pretend to be government agencies like the Social Security Administration, the IRS, even.
Mm.
They can pretend to be your healthcare institutions like your hospitals, dentists, anyone who would be contacting you. And also, we see these pop up with businesses like Amazon and Apple, and they're super successful partially because we already have a level of trust, and so we think that we can trust those people that they're pretending to be with our information, and so they're super effective in that way.
And if you're just joining us today, we're talking with Courtney Anclam with AARP Wisconsin all about imposter scams. So if you have a question for myself or Courtney during the show, you can post them below on our Facebook.com page or YouTube page. Or if you actually want to share, if you had firsthand experience yourself with an imposter scam, we always like to hear stories, especially because we know it's running rampant. And I think even before COVID, but I know since COVID, we've heard a lot of stories. And Courtney, are there specific types of imposter scams that people should be aware of or look out for?
So, like I said, there's like a bunch of them. So there's a few variations that we see maybe more around this time. One of those is people pretending to be charities. You know, with the holidays coming up, people are looking to kind of spread the joy and be generous. And so a lot of people are looking to donate right now to charities. And it's really important if you're going to do that, just to do some research on the organization you're giving money to. You can look up charities at a website like charitynavigator.org, but just be aware that scammers are they're completely making up charities, or sometimes they'll make a charity with a name that is similar to one that
Mhm.
already exists that you've maybe heard of, and so you just think, oh, that's that really well-known charity, yeah, I'll give them money. So just be really, really careful with who you're giving your money to, because they're really tricky, and again, they're preying on good people's generosity, especially at this time of year. And then also around this time of year, but also, like you mentioned with the pandemic, a
Mhm.
lot more people are doing online shopping.
Mhm.
We have been trying to get the word out about these kind of like online shopping types of issues, which are also really common with younger people. So, like you mentioned, those stats were people 18 and older. So this kind of stuff can happen to anyone. But basically, with some of these um, like Amazon impersonators. They might say, like, there's an issue with your account. We need
Mhm.
you to log in. And then the link takes you to a web page that maybe looks like Amazon but isn't. And then they've stolen your password. They can get into your actual accounts. They might also say, like, hackers have gained access to your Amazon account and like send us money and we'll take care of it, or like give us control of your computer and we'll fix it. So there's a lot of different angles that they kind of come in on these like Amazon and online shopping scams. And again, those are more prevalent now with people shopping for the holidays, people um, really taking advantage of online shopping during the pandemic. So
Mhm.
for our demographic, but also for all of your friends and family members, just to be aware, those happen to everyone. All of these can happen to anyone.
I do have to say, Courtney, based on the Amazon one and also a kind of a couple similar ones, I get emails almost daily that says your account has been compromised, click here. And it looks just like the Amazon logo, but I always check the email address. And if even then I'm like, I log into my actual Amazon account to see if there's a message in there, but that happens almost daily. So I could just imagine how many people are clicking on that and putting information in because it looks so real.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned checking the email address, because that is one surefire way to double check, because a lot of the times it'll be, from an email address like zach@gmail.com. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, obviously that's not actually Amazon, but because it does look so real, again, it preys on our trust where we're like, oh, it looks like Amazon. I don't have to be wary of it. So,
Correct.
and also, I love that you mentioned going and logging into your account. So
Mhm.
instead of following the link, um, go and verify that yourself, which is kind of a running theme with a lot of these scams. So, for instance, another similar one that is an imposter scam is with the Social Security Administration. Well, they may, similar to like what you said, they may call and say, your account is frozen or there's an issue, it's been linked with criminal activity.
Mhm.
And then, they'll say, give me your social security number so that we can like confirm it's you, or so that we can take care of this issue. They may also ask you to send money, particularly by gift card.
Mhm.
And so if this ever happens, similar to your Amazon story, just like
Yeah.
hang up or delete the email and then independently go and reach out to the Social
Mhm.
Security Administration yourself to verify that
Excellent.
information.
Mhm.
Um, but also just know, if the Social Security Administration is contacting you, they have your Social Security number. You
Mhm.
won't have to give that to them.
Correct.
And they're not going to like freeze your account because of suspicious activity. So,
Correct.
um, but again, those are really common for all kinds of age groups. So
Mhm.
there's so many more imposter scams. I feel like we could probably highlight one every week and be covered for a
Mhm.
whole year. But those are kind of the ones that are really popping up at this time of year.
And Courtney, it looks like we do have a question from Arlene. So I get a lot of text messages that want me to click on a link. Ooh, ditto on that. I delete them, but is there any way to report any of this?
Yeah. So they're probably the best place to be reporting a lot of this stuff is to the Federal Trade Commission, and they have a website set up specifically for reporting stuff like this. It is on the screen now, reportfraud.ftc.gov. So you can go and let them know this is happening. Unfortunately, it's not going to make it stop,
Mhm.
but it's good for them to know, where this stuff is coming from, and the more information we can provide, the closer we get to getting solutions to that kind of stuff. But
Perfect.
definitely, yeah, don't click the link and delete it. So
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
always glad to hear people say that that's what they're doing. So,
I actually got a text message almost every day from my cell phone provider that's like, thank you for your payment. But it called me a different name, so obviously I didn't click on it, but it looked real. It looked absolutely real. So what I did is I personally, sent it to my there's a way that you could text it to your cell phone provider, but then I also blocked the number just in case because I don't wanna see that phone number popping up at 2 AM. Nobody wants to get text messages from spam at 2 AM. So Courtney, one other scam. Well, actually, let me make a comment, then I have a question. So last week, now this was new to me. Last week, I saw on a national TV program they were talking about another like scam, or it could be an imposter, I guess. What is QR codes and how people, and I just found this kind of interesting. QR codes, we know that if you have a cell phone, you kind of put your camera up to it, and then it like loads a website. And there was fraud that was going around where people were scanning the QR code for a charity, like kind of like how you were talking about before, and it would take them to a website that looked like the charity, but
hmm,
it wasn't the charity. And I was like, wow, I never thought about QR code. I don't use them all that often, but if you're just scanning a QR code, you see a poster outside and you're just like, wow, I do want to give money. I mean, that's another way where it's like, just be careful what you scan.
for sure. And I think, the QR codes they're super handy and
Mhm,
convenient. Thankfully, a lot of the time it'll be like when you scan it, it'll say like go to and then have the
mhm.
website there. So just always be, and I hate saying like always be wary,
Yeah,
because it's such an exhausting state to be in. But like if
yeah,
you're going to be following a QR code, just make sure you're paying attention to like the actual URL and not
mhm.
just looking at the page. Um, but that's a great tactic for real charities to use. So,
Correct, that's why I was like, "Wow, I never thought about that."
mhm.
Courtney, I know there was another scam, and this one's been going on, imposter scam, for quite a few years, the grandparent scam. If you could talk a little bit about that because our viewers, once again, may run into this or may know somebody who might run into this and what that means.
Of course. So the grandparent scam is essentially, um, the scammer probably has information about the person that they're targeting. So they've maybe purchased that on the dark web,
Mhm,
or they found it on your social media accounts because you have it public and you love posting about your family. One way or another, they have information about their victim, and they call up and they say, "Hey, grandma, it's me. Um, I'm traveling in Brazil and I got arrested. Like, I need you to, send me money right away."
mhm,
They might know the name or they might not, and they might just say, "Grandma, it's me." And then if you say, "Oh, is that you, Courtney?" Then they, have the name.
mhm,
So they're very sneaky about it, but basically they'll say, "I'm in trouble. Please send money." And then they'll usually say, like, "Don't tell mom and dad," because they obviously don't want you
mhm,
going out and verifying the story. And because you care so much about your family and friends, like of course you're going to send money and do whatever you can to help.
mhm,
So there are a few red flags for these. So a lot of the times they'll ask you to send gift card payment, which is always a red flag in a lot of scams. So if you're sending anyone a gift card, it should be for a gift only and not for payment of
mhm.
some kind of, debt or crisis situation. Um, and the fact that they will usually say like don't tell anyone
Mhm.
else is usually like if you're in trouble, you're gonna say please send money. Also, please tell my mom and dad
Correct.
I'm in trouble.
Yes.
Um, so if you're ever like, I guess, suspicious about a situation like this, and I know this sounds like really harsh, but just hang up
Mhm.
and then call that person at the phone number that you know is theirs
Mhm.
and be like, "Hey, are you traveling in Brazil? Um, are you really in trouble?" And
Mhm.
chances are they'll say no. But definitely be careful before you send any kind of money or information. And if it really is your family member, they're going to appreciate you helping at all. They're not going to be mad that you hung up and called back 10 seconds later. So,
Correct. And I would say if anybody in my family is traveling to Brazil, I would hope they would tell me ahead of time and say, "What would you like from
exactly.
Brazil? Can I bring you back a gift?" So that should be the red flag also. So
Exactly.
I do appreciate that. Just if it sounds suspicious, as if it's not sitting right in your gut, definitely be suspicious and do your research. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a cautious person, which in return can save you from losing a lot of money or spam or malware on your laptop. And
Mhm.
Courtney, if our viewers are watching this right now, how can people stay up to date on the latest scam or find additional information?
So there are a lot of agencies out there that are kind of doing work to educate
Mhm.
people. So I will just name a few different places
Okay.
that you can go. Of course, AARP is here to provide you with all kinds of information. So you can visit our website on the screen, aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. There is so much information on our website. We have what we have started calling a fraud resource center, which is pretty much a list of every scam you could imagine. And it's got an article about it. You can read how it works. You can see what you should do, like what you shouldn't do. And then you can find related scams from that article. So, if you are like, oh, I'm kind of confused about those, online shopping scams that Courtney briefly mentioned, you can go to our website and read all about it. Also on our website, you can sign up for what we call watchdog alerts, which
Mhm.
is basically you can get them by email and text. And they're bi-weekly email messages, and it's just kind of like, hey, have you heard about charity scams? And it'll tell you about it. And they're a really great way to kind of just keep this stuff top of mind without clogging your inbox, I
Mhm.
guess. So it's just they're good reminders of that kind of stuff. Um, sorry. And you can also watch, we have a really fun podcast called The Perfect Scam. So
Mhm.
you can check out episodes on our website, or I'm pretty sure it's available wherever you listen to
Mhm.
podcasts.
Yep.
But The Perfect Scam is basically just they interview sometimes they interview people who have been a victim of scams. Sometimes they have really interesting guests who are
Mhm.
like, previously cybersecurity criminals and now they're like working with the good guys. So it's just like really good information, but told in a really more captivating way. So the podcast is awesome if you don't want to read articles.
Mhm.
Um, and we also have what we call a scam tracking map where you can like report scams, you can see what's happening in your area, stuff like that. Um, so that's all available on our website for free. You do not have to be an AARP member to access that. So share that far and wide because, again, I know I keep saying it, but this stuff can happen to literally
Yep.
anyone. Um, sorry, were you going to say something
Nope, I
before
was just
Okay.
going to say no, well, yeah, a little bit. So
Yeah.
Arlene actually just made another comment, and I have to ditto on this. My friend listens to the podcast religiously and loves them, and I have listened to the podcast, and I think they're just really well done. And even you might be sitting at home thinking, "Oh, I'll never, I won't run into fraud." And maybe you won't, maybe your loved one will, but there's so much great information and you learn something new all the time. So as Courtney said, you can listen to it at the on the website for the Fraud Watch Network, or like if you listen to Apple, it should be on there and that you can listen to it. And Courtney, I know I have heard this, you probably have heard this too, and AARP probably has definitely heard this, is when people do get scammed, they don't tell anybody because they're ashamed and they're scared. They maybe have lost a large amount of money, and they kind of sit in silence and not sure what to do. So, if perchance somebody believes either they have been a victim of scam or maybe their loved one has been a victim of a scam, what would you tell them?
Yeah. First of all, I would definitely echo what you said about people not wanting to report, and I would just say that these scammers are professionals.
Yep.
It's their job to trick people, and it's not any kind of shortcoming on the victim's fault. It's these are just bad people
Yep.
who are trying to take your information and money. So I know it's really still there is still a sense of um, disappointment that comes with it, but definitely it's better to talk about it and to report
Mhm.
it and to get it taken care of rather than to let it go in silence. So,
Correct.
if you or someone you know has been a victim of a scam, the first thing is to file complaints. So there's a couple of places you can do that. I mentioned earlier you can go to
Mhm.
reportfraud.ftc.gov. Um, and that kind of like it'll walk you through, like you check boxes and stuff and say what has happened, and then they give you next steps. So say you've been the victim of identity theft, it'll tell you like here's how you can freeze your credit, here's how you can do um, like credit checks, and then it'll give you like next steps.
Okay.
So that's a great way to file a report and also get your next steps.
Mhm.
It's an automated process. You can also file reports with our Wisconsin agency, the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, at their website, datcp.wi.gov. On the screen, thank goodness, because it just sounds like a bunch of letters when I
Mhm.
when I say it. Um, so that's just the Wisconsin Consumer Protection Agency. And again, you can file that online. Also on their website, they have a number for a phone number if you would
Okay.
rather call to speak to someone. And then if after you file your complaints, you're kind of like, oh God, I want to talk to a person about this. Like I just need support.
Mhm.
Again, AARP is here for you. So we have started a new support program. You can find out more at aarp.org/fraud support. And they're free online groups. So they are peer facilitated. You can join them if you've been a victim. If you want your family members to come, they're welcome to join, or you can go alone too. And so that's a great way to kind of you know address the emotional
Mhm.
implications of being a victim. And we do also on our website have information about our Fraud Watch Network helpline. So if you want to talk to someone, we have trained volunteers who are available if you just want to say, here's what happened, even if you didn't lose money or give up information, if you're just kind of like shaken by the
Mhm.
experience, which is common. I do hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, I knew it was a scam," but like it's scary that people
Yeah.
have that information. So, you can visit our website and find more about our helpline and just, talk to our volunteers, and our volunteers are also happy to talk through next steps with you as well. So,
Great.
um, yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Courtney. I will say, if you're watching this, if maybe you have not been a victim of a scam, which is terrific, but if you hear of a loved one telling you a story that sounds similar to what Courtney's been talking about, the grandparent scam, or they clicked on a link from Amazon, it's kind of like see something, say something. And, we are our best support system when it comes to our loved ones. So definitely make sure that you share this information on your Facebook page, or, copy the YouTube link and send it to your friends and family. But Miss Courtney, we always appreciate you being here. You always have such great, valuable information. So we appreciate you being here today.
thanks so much for having me.
All right, my dear. Thank you. And of course, we always like to mention upcoming events if you're interested. You do not need to be an AARP member to register for any of these. Tuesday, October 26th. So, Fraud in the Heartland, support for fraud victims. This is great addition to what Courtney has already been talking about. Also, Tuesday, the 26th at 6 p.m., I will be facilitating Prepare to Care, finding answer support and local resources. So, this is if you're a caregiver, or once again, maybe you're not a caregiver right now, but you will be a caregiver. I think everybody will be in the future. So, getting information about that. Thursday, the 28th at 6 p.m., Game Set Murder. This is an audio drama to get you ready for the Halloween. So if you're interested in that, you can register. And then also Tuesday, November 2nd, lecture, Fraud in the Heartland, another one, Elder Justice with Paul Greenwood. So just really goes hand in hand with what Courtney's been saying. You can register below at the AARP Wisconsin page or dial 1-877-926-8300. We always talk about small dollar, big impact. So our next application is due November 10th. This is for any organization, municipality, or similar that is interested in applying for up to $1,000 grant for creative, interesting, out-of-the-box idea on ways to impact your community. So once again, you can find that application at aarp.org/WISDBI, which is Wisconsin Small Dollar Big Impact. And once again, that's due November 10th. So for next week's show, we're going to change it up just a little bit. You're going to hear from myself and my counterpartner, Darren, aka the producer of the show. We're going to kind of do a little reflection of small dollar, big impact in for this year, talk about some of the ideals and projects, and maybe really get you start thinking about maybe applying for a future grant. So that's next Thursday here at noon, October 28th. As always, I thank you so much for joining us today. Once again, you can find all information on the AARP Wisconsin website. And until next Thursday, we look forward to seeing you and be safe.